Pharmaceutical companies are already plotting ways to circumvent new regulations that would allow for Medicare to negotiate the prices of a very limited number of drugs. Now, the policy was the outcome of Biden's Inflation Reduction Act or the end result of the severely watered down version of his Build Back Better agenda. You know, that agenda that the president couldn't be bothered to fight for. But nonetheless, the original legislation would have allowed for Medicare to negotiate the prices of all pharmaceutical drugs. But the final version that passed both chambers of Congress when Democrats controlled the levers of power was far weaker. The first ever Medicare drug price reduction process actually begins in September when the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services, CMS, identifies its 10 most costly drugs. Following negotiations on that first wave of drugs, new prices will go into effect in 2026, when the agency could cut $4.8 billion in industry sales. And the $4.8 billion is in regard to the lower prices that get negotiated as a result of this new deal, this new rule that was passed by Congress. Now, it's a limited number of drugs, and it won't go into effect until 2026. And this only impacts Medicare recipients. Cool. Now, in all fairness, while the regulation is laughably weak, the drugs that are likely to be negotiated are very important ones. So the blood thinner, Eliquis, from Bristol Myers Squibb and Pfizer, Pfizer's breast cancer drug, Ibrance, and AbbVie's leukemia treatment are likely to be among 10 big selling medicines subject to the negotiations. Okay, let's just pause for a second. Pharmaceutical companies don't even want the Medicare system to have the ability to negotiate drug prices. How is that the free market? How is that not crony capitalism? It's so incredibly disgusting, and make no mistake about it. The reason why the original regulation, the original proposal was watered down to the extent that it was watered down is because both Democrats and Republicans are bought by these pharmaceutical companies. So they're gonna do the bidding of the pharmaceutical companies. So they weakened the bill. They passed a watered down version of the original proposal, and pharmaceutical companies are still not satisfied. Even that pathetically weak law upsets pharmaceutical companies. I mean, so much so that they're already on the warpath to destroy it. 6 sources with ties to Big Pharma spoke to Reuters on condition of anonymity, and here's what they said. 3 industry lobbyists and lawyers said that unless Medicare changes its proposals before it finalizes them in July, drug makers will likely file lawsuits arguing that the agency is not complying with Biden's legislation nor the US Constitution. What? Okay, so they're just gonna do lawsuits to drag this out, drag out the implementation, and potentially work their way to the Supreme Court, which will very likely strike it down. Now, 5 of the world's top drug makers have already raised legal concerns with the law and the agency's proposed roadmap. 6 sources said factors involving whether a drug is considered eligible for negotiation may also contradict and unlawfully extend the law's provisions. In particular, they said the definition of a single source drug sets too high a bar on whether a drug has competition. There are other regulations that are likely to be challenged by pharmaceutical companies. For example, Reuters reports that Medicare's guidance includes rules banning drug makers from publicly discussing the negotiations and imposes fines of $1 million a day for violations. Now, I'm really curious why pharmaceutical companies have a problem with that. Is it because it would prevent them from lobbying and publicly speaking about it? Now, those could be challenged under the US Constitution's First and Eighth Amendments protecting freedom of speech and against excessive fines, respectively, said 3 sources representing drug makers. There are delay tactics involved too. So drug companies could file for emergency injunctions to delay government negotiations, according to one lawyer who represents multiple manufacturers. The lawsuits are more than just a tactic to delay the implementation of new drug negotiation rules. As Juliet Kubansky from Kaiser Family Foundation put it, litigation, if successful, would notch another win for an industry that has enjoyed many years of success in blocking legislative proposals it opposes. So what really stands out to me in regard to this story, other than the insane greed that we have come to expect from pharmaceutical companies, is that unless we do away with the virus in our political system, unless we do away with the corruption, unless we do away with the legalized bribery that allows for these pharmaceutical companies to pad the pockets of our lawmakers, they're always gonna get their way. They're gonna take Supreme Court justices on lavish trips. They're gonna bribe our judicial system in those ways. They're gonna bribe our members of Congress in other ways through campaign donations. I mean, that's baked into our system at this point. And at the end of the day, they're gonna get what they want because they have paid handsomely to get what they want. So how exactly is that a democracy? And by the way, what the hell is the point of being a member of Congress when your work means nothing? When even the pathetic, watered down garbage that comes out of Congress can be squashed immediately by the court system. I mean, imagine looking back at your life as a United States lawmaker and feeling proud of what you've accomplished. Because fact of the matter is, Congress can't really accomplish much these days, especially if they're trying to rein in corporate greed. So when lawmakers talk about their legacy, when they obsess about their legacy, what they should know is that as long as money in politics continues to be a problem, their legacy means nothing. They're just puppets for corporate America, including pharmaceutical companies who love to take taxpayer money in the form of research and development and then turn around and price gouge us the second we need those medications to stay alive. That's what this country really operates under. We're not being ruled or governed by the people we've elected. The people who actually call the shots in America are corporate executives, are shareholders, and are people who stand to profit off of deregulation and all sorts of corporate goodies. It is unbelievable that even that weak sauce legislation has gotten the pharmaceutical companies' panties in a bunch. But that's where they're at, because God forbid they lose even a tiny bit of profit while more Americans are able to access the drugs they desperately need to stay alive.